We start with future Jet Aaron Rodgers. In an interview that was both fascinating and ridiculous, Pat Mcafee, A.J. Hawk, and Aaron Rodgers discussed the darkness retreat, his favorite font, bowel movements, and the reporters who should, quote, lose his number. We also got this quote, "My intention is to play for the New York Jets." Nick, your reaction.
All right, first of all, I want to say this. I don't necessarily believe everything Aaron said in this, and we'll get to that on the retirement front, but I do believe that he made it clear on Friday that he wanted to be a Jet. I believe him. He said that. He said that this decision was made on Friday.
Right.
And in that regard, I owe him a bit of an apology. Because I, along with I think other people in the media, said he was putting the Jets and the Packers in a rough spot because free agency had opened. He says he communicated on Friday his desire to be a Jet. So in that regard, I do apologize because I don't think he put them in a bad spot. The rest of it, I will say, maybe I will, he'd want an apology for what I'm about to say more than the previous stuff. I think this is going to be a disaster.
Oh.
And
disaster.
Yeah, I watched this interview, and I thought something that I rarely think, which is I think Brou was right. Oh. Which is that Aaron Rodgers
I think it a lot.
doesn't actually want to be a Jet. He made it very clear he had hoped to be a Packer.
Yep.
The Packers had made it very clear, seemingly to various media members, I don't want to say randomly, but Stink seemed to know this in December, that they were done with him. Boomer Esiason has known it for a few weeks. We have seen
Bob
McGinn knew that they were done with him a month ago. And Bob McGinn, and maybe we should have listened more closely to Bob McGinn, who's covered the team since literally before I was born. And I think this is a spot where the Jets, I understand what the inclination is, Brou, which is we have not had consecutive seasons of good quarterbacking since Joe Namath. Last year we had, of the 37 quarterbacks who threw at least 150 passes, the three worst were Joe Flacco, Zach Wilson, and Mike White by passer rating. So we had the three worst quarterbacks in the league. And now we can get Aaron Rodgers. Of course we want Aaron Rodgers. But I don't think it tangibly moves the goalpost, moves the needle for them, I should say. And I don't think Aaron, in this setting, it didn't appear, like he is all of a sudden going to be all in on doing the requisite things he would need to do to have a better season than last year, when last year one of the reasons the Packers missed the playoffs was quarterback play. It wasn't the only reason, but it was one of the reasons. Right. So I think he's going to be better than their quarterbacks were. I don't think it means it's going to be worth what they're going to end up having to pay and give up.
Yeah, I mean, first what he said, his intentions to play with the Jets. What else was he going to say? I would have been absolutely, to use your word, gobsmacked had he come out and said anything else. I'm retiring. The Packers don't want me, but I don't want to go to the Jets, and I'm staying with the Packers, which probably would have meant they send him away and he gets paid $60 million to sit on his couch. So I think this was his only choice because he wants to play, but more importantly, he wants that $60 million. As far as disaster, look, I don't think they're going to win a Super Bowl. I've said you should have went to get Lamar Jackson. I even thought, even though Derek Carr is not even as good as this version of Aaron Rodgers, I still think I would have preferred Derek Carr because he matches the timeline of that team and those young players more than Aaron Rodgers does. But I'll say this, Nick, even if they're not going to win a Super Bowl, but they're the Jets. If they make the playoffs this year, maybe win a game. I don't know that he'll stay around for 2 years, but if he stays around for 2 years and they do the same thing again, maybe get one round deeper, that would be maybe the championship game, and lose. I mean, it could be for the Jets.
That'd be a win.
It would be fun. It would be exciting, and that's what they are. So in that regard, it might be worth it. But long term, I think they should have looked elsewhere.
Do you think that he wants to be a Jet? Because I don't.
No.
And we've seen a few quarterbacks move, and I tried to put them in three different categories. Stafford was with a losing organization, wanted a chance to win. He won. Russ wanted out, thought he could do better. He lost. Tom Brady kind of wished it went another way, but he was ready to go. And we knew it immediately after loss to the Titans. That exit interview was gone. He didn't go back and do an hour interview talking, oh, the Patriots did this, and they did this, and they didn't give me the This guy wants to be on the Packers.
Brady
Absolutely wants
had
to
a softer landing spot with a team that had an obvious need at quarterback and had a bunch of other pieces that made a ton of sense. We can say, well, how the Jets are in a similar spot because of Garrett Wilson and the defense. Not given the competition and not given the fact that I believe, we have real reason to believe, that Rodgers is in a far different place of his career than Brady was when he went to Tampa, even though Brady was also coming off a down year. When we talk about the great quarterbacks who have changed teams, Montana went to a Chiefs team that had already a great defense, was a good team, and was really good in the 90s under Schottenheimer, and it made sense. Brady went to a team that's quarterback had just thrown 30 picks. They needed someone who could take care of football, and it made sense. Manning went to the Broncos, a team that had won a playoff game with Tim Tebow, who could have been throwing left-handed, it wouldn't have made a difference. It made sense. Now we have two all-time greats change teams, and it's like, okay, they'll be better. And it's both Packers going to the Jets. It's Aaron Rodgers going to the Jets, and it's Favre going to the Jets. When it worked for Favre was when he went to a team that was ready in Minnesota, and at least for a year it worked. I think it's going to be clumsy, and I don't think it's going to go over great. And by the way, I don't think it's going to get resolved super quick. That's the other part that he made it clear is they're haggling over draft compensation. And, two people could watch this interview and some walk away thinking, well, the Jets now have all the leverage. And some people think the Packers have all the leverage. I don't know that this is going to get resolved immediately now.
We should stop comparing this to Tom Brady because as great as Aaron Rodgers is and has been, he's not Tom Brady.
Of course.
When Tom Brady goes to a team, he changes the culture for the positive, right?
You think that's off the board for Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers will bring a certain positivity in that he's a great player. He's he's won before, and even though he hadn't gotten to the Super Bowl since he won it, he still takes you to a certain level the Jets haven't had in a while. So the young guys will look up to him and feel like they really have a chance. That'll all be good. But as far as the way he acts, the things he's gonna say, it doesn't build up the culture the way Brady does.
And the other distinction, and I know we have to move on and be very quick here. The year they won in Tampa, it didn't start great. They were 7-5. But I think because Brady's there, it instills a level of, but if we get in that tournament, we can be dangerous, and they were. I think for Aaron, it has to start great. If it doesn't.
In New York with the media?
So what if so home games, obviously, Bills, Dolphins, Patriots, we've beaten them 14 times in a row. You also have Chiefs, Chargers, Eagles. These are home games that you have to win. If you start with on the road in Buffalo, home against the Chiefs.
Well, and by the way, they're going to want to put, and I know we have to move on, they're going to want to put marquee Aaron Rodgers Jets games on early in the schedule on national TV.
Right.
You know what I mean? They're not it's not going to be random. This is now, New York hasn't had a massive draw from one of the teams since really 2012, the year after the Giants won their last Super Bowl. The Jets are going to be all over national television this coming year.
They start slow. I don't think relax, everybody. I got
that won't play.
The back pages. Broussard is all over the back page of the Post. Another quote from Aaron Rodgers. I went into the darkness. This is his darkness retreat. 90% retiring, 10% playing. And one day I spent entirely on the reality I was retired. And one day I spent entirely on the reality I was coming back. And sat with that for hours and hours.
Wildes,
yes?
Remember how I said that I believe Aaron Rodgers on certain things and not on others?
Yeah.
This is the others.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
agree.
And
you never thought he was retired?
I thought there was close to a 0% chance. And it makes me take with a bit of a grain of salt almost the entirety of the interview. He was talking about how, he didn't say disrespected, but he's very upset in how it ended in Green Bay, how it's ending, all of these things. That is not credible to me. That Aaron Rodgers, 2.5 weeks ago, thought there was a 90% chance he was walking away from $60 million. It's just not credible to me, Brou. Just flatly.
Ridiculous.
Look, he lied to us about being immunized.
No, that's just
So we know
choice
he'll
of
lie
words.
or he'll, leave out the truth. So I don't believe him. I'm with Nick. No, because if you were he said he went into the darkness.
Yes.
Thinking that the Packers wanted him. That's what he said, right? When he went to the darkness, he thought they wanted him.
How could he have thought that? Like, a lot of people that were not Aaron Rodgers didn't think
He said
that.
they told him.
Sure.
They told him, look, it's up to you, and we want you back.
LaFleur said that.
If you're 90% thinking you're going to retire, and you think the team that you want to play for wants you, then you come out of the darkness and you find out they don't want you. I would think you'd retire. I know it sounds crazy. He went into the darkness and the Packers saw the light. That's really what we're talking about. I mean, because he went into the darkness and they wanted him. He comes out of the darkness and they say, you know what? We saw the light.
So
we
here's
don't
the
want
other
you.
quote to throw to you. After coming out of the darkness, I realized there had been a little bit of a shift. I heard from multiple people that I trust there was some shopping going on, and they were interested in actually moving me. Mm-hmm. And he didn't like that. Nick.
No, I think the Packers are making the right decision here. I also think they made this decision during the year that was going to be his last year, and that's why they didn't play Jordan
They let
Love.
him right.
That's why they let him have the end,
right.
because it
I
was,
agree.
as some very smart people on television kept saying, they were making a really
made the right
irrational
move.
decision, but I think that they felt if we know we're moving on from him, we can't have the end of his time be with him on the bench. We should let him play out the string.
Sure.
We've decided to move on to Jordan Love. I think they are making the right decision now, but it is so the wrong decision compared to if they had done it a year ago. So a year ago, just keep in mind, Rodgers spent 10 minutes in this interview talking about Nat Hackett. Talking about how much he loves Nat Hackett, how the Jets obviously hired Nat Hackett on his own merits. It was the only thing he was offended by is people implying Nat Hackett could have the job, had anything to do with him. But Nat Hackett is essentially one of the greatest people in football minds he's ever known. The Denver Broncos hired Nat Hackett, I believe, in large part to get Aaron Rodgers. What were the Denver Broncos willing to give up for a quarterback? Let's see. 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and 3 players. A backup quarterback, a legitimate tight end, and a defensive player. And the Packers would have been off the hook on all the contract stuff a year ago. Now, the Packers are going to have $30+ million in dead money for him to move on. And what do we think the compensation is going to be? A second that could turn into a first? My guess is that's the ceiling of it. Like a second-round pick, that's a first if the Jets win X amount of games or whatever it is. It's not going to be anything close to what the Broncos traded for Russell Wilson when they would have traded that for Rodgers. The time would have been a year ago. And Brou, if they'd have been honest with themselves, you're the defending MVP, you host the NFC Championship game, you lose. You're the defending MVP, and you lose to Jimmy Garoppolo in round 2 when Jimmy's team...
A lot of people have lost to Jimmy.
Okay, sorry. When Jimmy's team does not score an offensive touchdown and you can't muster 17 points, that's the time. That's when Belichick would have done it, I'll tell you that much. And so I do think that it's better now than never, but the best time was a year ago.
You're right in everything you said. They would have got way more for him.
Way
but
more.
As you said, you're coming off 13-3, and we've talked ad nauseum about his failures in the NFC title games. But with Brady being another year older, Tampa Bay clearly wasn't what it was supposed to be. They had to be thinking, smart people.
I was about to say.
Smart people said they would get to the Super Bowl.
Brou
They
picked
had
them to
to
go to
really,
the Super
but I
Bowl.
mean, really, they had to be thinking, we got a shot. Nobody knew. I mean, Philadelphia did have a lot of people that believed in him, but you couldn't have thought Jalen Hurts was going to become this. So I think that's why they didn't do it. But I'm with you. It's a smart move now. I like, though, that last year, look, they gave him a shot. It looked for a moment there like, you know what, he's going to pull this off and get us into the playoffs. This is our last run with him. Let's let him have at it. And they probably made the decision then. This is it. We're moving on.
Jordan Love era starts.
He looked good in his 20 minutes. Was it 20 against Philadelphia?
It was more than 20 minutes.
Was it more than 20 minutes?
And I told you guys 2 years ago that he was a future starting quarterback when you guys made fun of the Chiefs for playing a close game. I was like, they're playing first-round pick, future starting quarterback.
Chiefs
You kept on saying they beat the Packers.
Did they?
Yeah,
did they
but
beat
you
the Packers?
said it in a way that
Did they beat the Packers with their current starting quarterback? Spent a first-round pick on him.
belief in the Lakers restored. They mopped the Pelicans. Pelicans used to be
kept
frisky.
on saying the Lakers stunk. You still saying that?
You changing that one?
Changing that
new
too?
info.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.